Yo, 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 yo. So I'm going to try to make a video about a little bit about, I guess, the backstory of Dubstep for Moms. And this is probably going to be a part of a more extensive thing or conversation pieces. And I'm going to listen to Dubstep for Moms in the background, starting at track 4. So let's look at the catalog real quick. The Big Chocolate catalog. We got, there's some missing on Spotify. Shaka Bra, High Lion, Redhead Loke, Red EP, Clean, Couples, WDF. So I feel like those are all pretty poppy. And I think Clean makes that clear edge of kind of getting a little more alternative. I mean, it's all alternative, truly. Like, Redhead Loke is really alternative sounding. It's not classic dance music by any means, but it's a little more, when I say poppy, I mean the structuring is a little more accessible, and the integration of concepts is a little more accessible, right? Or translatable. And then I think on Couples, Clean was, starting to break that edge a little bit. I'll use the word artistic, start to get a little more artsy. And then Couples and the WDF, I feel like went deep into that kind of space. We're leaving more of a foundation and going more into an artistic direction. And it's progressive in that way. And if you listen to those tracks, they're really a trip. And they're well done, but they're a trip. Rest in Peace, Small Face, collaboration EP, Midways, all over the place. Beat of the Bird, very artistic, So we also want to get into deep dubstep. Death Before Dubstep is basically like anti-dubstep music. There's no foundation to any track, there's no structuring, there's no ode to anything that makes dubstep, besides it's like a dubstep influenced dubstep album, right? I'm getting somewhere. And then, I won't get to the rest of them, but they kind of get a little more random. So in 2020, I moved to Austin. DJ'd a lot with Crisley. We had 2 residencies for about a year and a half in Austin, and at San Marcos. And we got really good at DJing. Before we started the residencies, we were playing on his Twitch a lot. Chris and I got pretty obsessed with DJing, which is kind of funny because we're both DJs, or DJs before. That's how we met, so we knew each other. And we got really into house. We still played like dubstep and stuff, but the residencies were mainly around house, hip hop, and dance pop, and they're like bottle service clubs. And we got good at it. I'll make another video about DJing later. But essentially, when I started to produce again, I was like, I'm only going to look at myself as a songwriter, and I'm just going to write, like in my mind, I was writing pop music, but it was always alternative. And even if I was writing like drum and bass or house, it still followed like a very specific structuring, okay? And I just wrote like, I don't know, maybe 80 songs. And I got way, way better at writing music fast. And I was only thinking about songwriting. I wasn't thinking about producing that much. Granted, I had like 10 years of producing and engineering, or 10 years of producing experience, and about like 5 years of more in-depth engineering experience, And it was all kind of coming together for me. I was like, okay, this is what you're good at. You're good at writing songs. You're good at producing. You're good at integrating production and your producing edge into songwriting. And you're good at doing both those things at the same time. And they kind of, when you get in that flow state, it's kind of like choosing which one is more important. Time doesn't matter. But the songwriting aspect came from kind of taking a more accessible pop approach to writing music, right? Like the flow, the formula of like the progression, the segments of the songs, knowing what's going to come next before you even, start really, and the repetition of that. Repetition, a big key. Repetition is crucial for learning, crucial for growing. So anyways, wrote a bunch of music. I moved from Austin back to Nevada, and I sold everything. One, to just make my move lighter, but two, I was like, I have too much shit. I need to downsize, and anything I want, I can just buy exactly what I want after I get there. There's a couple good books about minimalism on my website. One is Goodbye Things, and the other one is Essentialism. Those are really good books I think people should read. And I bought a new MacBook Pro, a 2021 14-inch awesome computer, and it was funny. I called Chris and I was like, hey, what kind of music should I make? Like, I love house, I love drum and bass, I like dubstep, I like trap. And he was kind of like, he was referring to like a sound that I was kind of flirting with that was like that chopped and screwed, but kind of mixed with dubstep kind of thing. And I thought about it for a couple days and started producing, and I was like, you know what, I'm only gonna make dubstep right now. And I'm just gonna make good, deep dubstep, basically. Clubby dubstep, you know? And so I started making what we now call Dubstep for Moms, but my whole approach to it is this needs to be repetitive and very accessible, and the structure needs to be instantly catchy, and it almost needs to sound like you know what's gonna happen the moment each song starts. No like rugs out from under you type of music. And the structuring I followed on Dubstep for Mom, I hate calling it this in this video right now because I didn't have that title for it until after it was completed. My whole thing was about making it repetitive and accessible. You know, a lot of melody, vocals, the drums to be simple. The thing I like about dubstep, or the thing I like about house music and the culture of house music, and how, I don't want to say accessible it is because I'm overusing that word now, but like how much music there is to support the culture, you know? And everything follows like the same things. Like almost all those songs are so similar. And that's where it takes like a really good fine ear to become a good house DJ, is you need to sift through like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of house songs, you know, all the time to build your library, which is going to be consistent of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of house songs. You know, you need every style, you need every key in the style, so you can be anywhere, you know, at any time. And you need to have it to where your taste is really well represented, and each track is really intentional, because house is a more longer format type of music. The ideal house set would be you hit play on your track and you let the whole thing play. You know, if the track is not what the vibe should be, that's when you maybe mix earlier or something. And you know, there's obviously variation, but like in a basic sense, that's how I see it. Like a good song selection would be like you just pick the perfect track each time, and it just like hits the whole duration of the song, you know? And that's my biggest gripe with dubstep. And when I say dubstep, I mean the whole umbrella, the heavier stuff and the 140 deep stuff. And I feel like, you know, when I got into 140 and deep dubstep, there was not really a general marketplace for it. Now Beatport has the deep dubstep 140 section, which is game changing, because now there's like a universal marketplace, so it's a lot more accessible, so it could grow a lot more. There's a lot less gatekeeping with the good tunes and stuff. But I still think it's like, because dubstep is the most, or one of the most influential things to happen in dance music in a long time, its effect on itself is like, dubstep is always pushing its envelope. And it's like, you know, to me, this is like a progressive dubstep envelope pusher. And this might be funny to some people, but like, dubstep but in the fundamental version is kick, you know, it's like a four count beat, kick, 2, snare, 4. You know what I mean? Like house music is kick, 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 kick. You know, you do the claps on the 2 and the 4. Dubstep fundamentally is kick, 2, snare, 4, right? So I think when you add extra kicks in, which dubstep is like, there's so much space in it, there's so much room to add kicks in, you're making like you're making like progressive dubstep in like a fundamental sense immediately when you start doing stuff like that, right? And I'm not talking about adding you know, I don't want to get too much into like the production of dubstep. I'm just talking about like the seed of the fundamentals of the philosophy of dubstep, right? And I think that kind of holds the genre back a lot. When rhythm first started coming around, the thing that caught my attention about it the most was how formulaic it was. And I was like, this is great. This is what dubstep needs. Because it was that fundamental drum pattern, and the bass lines have a whole nother, you know, you could make any variety of, you know, time signatures on the bass line, right? But it was primarily a quarter note kind of thing going on. And I was like, this is great. Like, this is gonna make a lot of dubstep that sounds similar. So you could kind of create a better culture around it. And look what happened with that sound. Like, it's the main sound for dubstep in a lot of ways. But still, dubstep is dubstep. Dubstep's gonna dubstep. And it's all progressive, you know? And like, there's so much rhythm out there that's just so crazy now. And like, again, they start adding things, and I mean, I won't get into the specifics. I'm not trying to gripe on it. I'm actually trying to give the genre and the innovation of it like a lot of credit. All I'm saying is, when I sat down to make dubstep, I wanted to make kind of like purist, fundamental dubstep with the foundations, but have everything else be whatever I felt like. I wanted to be very flowy. I wanted to be like I don't know. Like, again, it's like a combination of being like a producer and a songwriter. I wanted the kind of the both to mix really fluidly in that flow state. And that's why I think Dubstep for Moms is sounds the way it does, and it has like a lot of grip to it. And you know, Dubstep for Moms in a lot of ways for me felt like a new debut for Big Chocolate. Like, it kind of feels like starting fresh again, you know? And I have so much music to release, and I have so much music to release that really backs up a lot of my thoughts about the genre and, you know, music as a whole in a lot of ways, but as specifically dubstep. And I've been kind of waiting for this music to come out to dive deeper into it, you know, because I really feel like you can't just sit on the internet and talk about shit. You really got to be walking whatever you're talking about, you know. And if I'm walking it all day long on my computer, but I'm not releasing it, it does not count, you know. If I have music, if I put a SoundCloud link below with all my new music in it, like, it would be so overlooked compared to if it was on Spotify, you know. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's really a thing. The distribution aspect of making music is a part of making music. If you do not let go and release it, it's almost like you didn't write the song in the first place. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about that in some ways. In other ways, like, you know, I've made tons of music in the last year that has been inspired by music that hasn't been released yet. And I'm just, you know, I'm almost about to start unleashing it, you know. This Way to Silence collaboration EP is coming out in April. And then I'm hoping to release another album probably the month afterwards, you know. And looking like to keep kind of a consistent album dropping schedule, at least for the next year and a half, until I can kind of like purge a lot of this music that I've been sitting on, but purge it in the correct way, because distributing it properly is like just as important as every other component of the music, you know. And that's just the world we live in now in a lot of ways. Like, there is the whole like outsider kind of like upload something to SoundCloud and it goes viral, but dubstep is not like that anymore. Like, dubstep is not that sound, you know. Like, dubstep needs to be accessible, it needs to be findable, it needs to be reachable, because it's supposed to support like a larger community and culture, which is ultimately dance music. And I think dubstep is kind of like an outlier in dance music. And if you get more into it and think about what's really happening in a lot of these tracks that are coming out, it's obvious why it's always an outlier, and kind of rides more of that like EDM rock show vibe than it does like a proper dance music cultural vibe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Obviously, I've got a lot of thoughts on this stuff, and I don't want to make this video too long. We're coming up on 15 minutes, so I'll wrap this one up here when this goes out, and I kind of vibe off the feedback or reflect on what I'm saying. And again, it's going to be more I want to say when more music comes out, because I don't want to speak on stuff that I can't like show you or stand on, you know what I mean? But Dubstep for Moms is a solid album, and this is kind of a little bit of my philosophy into it. Obviously the marketing, I should make another video about like the marketing of it and like the actual like real Dubstep for Moms, like what it means now and what it means afterwards. You know, kind of like my video last time. It's like you can write a song and not know what it's about, and then after you write it, you know what it's about later on. It's like that's kind of how Dubstep for Moms is, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I just wanted to be consistent with making videos and kind of getting better at letting my thoughts flow publicly, especially to like the YouTube community right now for Kim Every Day and, you know, other related pages that is currently starting to bloom a little bit and grow a little bit, but we're still nice and tight right now, so I could be, you know, a little more myself. I'll always be myself. That's the whole goal, to be yourself every step of the way, you know, but this is like the proper way to build it. So just being consistent. Anyways, thank you. Peace.